I've got through 8 applications so far for settlement for Innovator visa holders. And there's a number of areas where there's potential mistakes that you could make if you have the Innovator visa, which are definitely avoidable. They largely surround timing. So I'm going to switch over. I'm doing this live, so bear with me. So you can see we've got the diagram here with the 3-year visa term. And you can see that the settlement application is made at year 3. So you've got a settlement application at the end of year 3. It can actually be made 28 days before year 3 accrues. And you can see here that there's different accounting periods within that visa term. But even assuming that you incorporate the company immediately, the actual accounting period is not going to start with immediate effect. Usually the accounting period for your entity, for your company, will start later. And that means that the 3rd year accounting period will not have completed before you complete the visa term. The last full period of accounts will be, for year 2, will be the relevant one. And when I say the relevant one, I'm talking about these 2 success criteria. Remember, you only need 2 out of the 7. I'm going to be focusing on this video on these 2. But by the way, in the next video, I'm going to talk about this, which is how to claim tax relief in connection with the research and development. Because again, that's all about timing considerations. But back to this one, when we're looking at the last full year covered by accounts, these criteria say this: the business has generated a minimum gross revenue of 1 million in the last full year covered by its accounts. Now, obviously, not everyone is going to be able to do this. Some of my clients have done 1 million in revenue, others have not, right? And it's certainly not required. These are, I'm just looking at 2 of the optional criteria, but it's a good one because it's black and white. Either you've done it or you haven't. And the other one is this: look, the business is generating a minimum annual gross revenue of 500k in the last full year covered by its accounts, with at least 100,000 from exporting overseas. So again, some of my clients have done that, and it's all about timing considerations, because this last full year covered by its accounts, it's usually not going to be the first year. Usually the first year covered by the accounts is a kind of business setup time. And indeed, you'll be in the process of moving to the UK. It's all going to be about really accounting period 2. So that 2nd year is critically important. That's the year in which you'll want this revenue to come in, if you can do it. Now, when I'm talking about this revenue, I'm not talking about intra-group transfers. In other words, you control one entity outside of the UK and you control the UK entity and one is charging the other. No, this has got to be real economic activity. In other words, you're invoicing clients, making sales and generating revenue. Doesn't have to be profit. We're talking here about revenue. So I've done that in several cases now, and we've planned that around year 2. But again, it's all about planning. If you raise these issues at the very end of your visa term, then often it's too late. It's not necessarily correctable. Now, having said that, I have had a case where we've moved the accounting period so that it corresponded with the revenue. That can be done. But again, why put yourself in that position? Plan ahead. And also this does come right back to the original business plan that you've drafted. Again, that document is so crucial. That's where you'll be stating how much money you're going to be making in the different periods. I never cease to be surprised by how many people either don't have financial projections, or they have inadequate financial projections, or they have wildly optimistic financial projections combined with no other milestones. All kinds of weird and wonderful things take place with the business plan process, especially if you have business plan writers involved. Often that can make things worse rather than better. So be careful about that. But as I say, the main message of this video is concentrate on accounting period 2. That's the one to go for. Don't be focusing on your accounting year 3, because you're not going to have completed it by the time you apply for the endorsement or by the time you lodge your settlement application. Likewise, accounting period 1, you're very unlikely. Well, in most cases, I should add, some of my clients are doing very well in accounting period as one as well, but usually that's a setup period. I hope that's helpful. The other key timing consideration, as I say, is to do with R&D. The R&D part of things is getting more challenging. I showed you in a previous video that the R&D, at least the way they interpret the legislation under the Innovator Founder visa for R&D, is quite strict. They use these extreme examples of like a Elon Musk type scenario of inventing new battery technology, and they use another extreme example of someone developing technology in connection with curing cancer. These are extreme examples, but again, they've got very extreme examples from the other end of the scale about very low caliber R&D that would not qualify. So it's going to be somewhere in the middle. But when we're talking about the innovator visa, then for the innovator visa, the guidance to the legacy endorsing bodies is more or less the same as what it was previously in terms of how they're interpreting the R&D. Nonetheless, for R&D, it helps a lot if you can successfully get R&D tax relief from HMRC. If HMRC has already accepted that your activity qualifies as innovative, it would be inconsistent really from a public policy perspective for the Home Office to be taking a contrary view, particularly after it's been confirmed in an endorsement letter. But it also helps at the endorsement stage as well. I'm talking about settlement endorsement. Hope that's helpful. I'll cover this point about R&D in more detail in the next video. And if you are applying, I wish you the best of luck, whether you're applying for the initial visa or you're applying for settlement. Feel free to get in touch if you want support from me directly using my consultation service linked below. Bye for now.